Éire, and welcome to the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, slicing into the GAA of the past, present and future. Join me, Jason Keelan, as we cut into the largest loaf of bread known to mankind.
Hello, Diegwich, bonjour, ni hao, konnichiwa, guten tag and privyet to you all wherever you're listening in. What started as a message to 10 clubs has now expanded to more than 50 clubs globally from all continents. The journey through Loaf 2 GAA Global continues this week as we move on to our next destination in the GAA world. So come with me on the GAA journey of a lifetime and meet clubs from Canada to Argentina, South Africa to Gibraltar, Bermuda to the North Pole, New Zealand to Kuwait, Knoxville to Qatar, and literally everywhere in between. So grab the passports, grab the bags, it's time to go. On Slice 33, I have something slightly different to offer. As somebody who is a huge fan of quizzes, a message from a listener, Dermot, led me to a WhatsApp chat with the man you will be familiar with. When he appeared as a contestant on the award-winning quiz show The Chase several years ago, little did he think his impact would be so immense that he would become a chaser himself a few years later. Yes, it is of course Darragh the Menace Ennis, the man from Rathcoole. Hear about how his playing time came about not so much in Ireland but in Canada and the UK, all about Saggart GAA in Dublin, how he was voted most improved player, being a Liverpool fan, his amazing podcast Untangling Science, all things to Chase and Bradley Walsh, Brady's or the Roost as his pub choice in Maynooth, Father Ted, and he is even so sound as to take on some of the GAA quiz questions himself, some of which are set by the kids in my class. But first, as always, as tradition, let's find out all about Éire in Oxford, the GAA Montreal, the Chase, and Darragh himself. Consult us. When a chance was offered to me by a listener and friend of Darragh's to get in touch with him, it was a no-brainer. Dermot and Darragh have been friends since, as Darragh will tell you, back in play school. As for myself, I'm a quiz nut. I've been blessed to have had some people who I'm very close to who are also big quiz fans, particularly Kevin, a man who comes from a quizzing family and has a quiz ranking somewhere in the 700s, I think. Every week over lockdown I ran a virtual quiz for the school community in Chapel Izzard in Dublin where I teach, which proved to be amazing and a great morale booster. Speaking of quizzes, Chapel Izzard was mentioned on the famous University Challenge in recent years, and the pronunciation of it was butchered by the host Jeremy Paxman. Darragh Ennis is one of the great quizzers of the world. For those who've seen him on The Chase, he fits the bill so well. Likeable, easygoing, witty and clever as hell. And of course he's Irish, which makes it even better. Darragh hails from Rathcoole in Dublin, and according to his best friend Dermot, is not a man who took the traditional route to the GAA like many. He didn't really play too much in Ireland, but when he went to study in Canada, that's where he found his feet in the game as such. Darragh previously studied in Ireland in places like Maynooth University, the same as myself, except he did a Masters and a PhD, whereas I did about 8 hours a week, watched Anchorman several times a week, lived behind Brady's pub, and knew the names of the people in Paddy Power by first name during Cheltenham week. But it is a cracking college, to be fair. I just happened to be doing a course that didn't require much face-to-face stuff. Darragh studied in Concordia University in Montreal, Canada, where among the many routes of study today is one Canadian-Irish studies program. It was here that Darragh picked up the GAA properly and was, in fact, voted the most improved player during his time there. His route would then take him to the famed Oxford University in the UK and lead him into the club of Éire Oxford. When Darragh appeared as a contestant on The Chase back in 2017, he was asked what he did in his spare time, and this was his reply.
Welcome to the show, Darragh.
Thanks, Brad.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Dublin, but I live in Oxford.
OK, and what do you do in Oxford?
I'm a scientist at the university.
Perfect. What sort of science are you involved in?
I work in brain development, how insect brains grow and develop, and nerves and things like that.
How insect brains?
Well, we can't use people brains, so...
No, sure. OK, so that purely and simply is a precursor to later on to knowing what happens in human brains?
Yeah.
All right, what do you do in your spare time?
I'm on the committee of the local Gaelic football team, so I'm the registrar there. I've been doing that for 3 years. I'm too old to play.
Oh, you've stopped playing now, eh?
Yeah, well, I was never very good, but I'm now... my knees just aren't up to playing anymore.
And what are your team like?
They're pretty good. They won the championship 2 years ago, and they're third in the league at the moment.
Oh, very good.
So as he says himself, the knees are gone and the organisational side of Éire Oxford is his ply now. But what about the life on the chase, the club Éire Oxford itself, and the city of Oxford? Well, Darragh's appearance as a contestant was, by all accounts, iconic. A £9,000 cash builder was fantastic, even leaving room for a few errors in the 60 seconds of bamboozling questions. When he took on chaser Paul Sinnerman Singer, he eased through, but it was in the final chase where Darragh absolutely dominated. The team scored 23 in total, with Darragh getting all of them bar a handful. They even got 7 of the 8 pushbacks. But it was after the show when things took off. The other 3 members of the team, spotting the obvious talents of Darragh, all took the minus offers, leading to a Twitter backlash, and the hashtag Justice for Darragh soon became the highest trending thing on the internet. As Darragh will mention, it was the same day that Article 50 of Brexit was being discussed, something which many might consider slightly more important than Darragh, but the Twitter world certainly didn't. A GoFundMe page was set up to raise money for Darragh, feeling he had been cheated by his teammates. In the end, Darragh diffused the situation and all the money raised was given to charity by him. And then host Bradley Walsh announced the possibility of a new chaser in the group just over 3.5 years later. And then the moment arrived.
Oh, no, not Sean, not the Cinnamon, not the Vixen, not the Beast or the Governess. It's our brand new chaser. The Dublin Dynamo. All the way from the Emerald Isle, it's Darragh Ennis, Ennis, the Menace.
Welcome, Clint, and very nice to see you. I'll always remember you as the first contestant I ever faced, and the first one I ever caught as well.
The world met Darragh the Menace Ennis as a chaser. There's even a great story about the name The Menace and how late in the day Darragh found out that was going to be his nickname. He'll tell you that in the podcast. The Dublin Dynamo was his known alter ego on social media by many. Since then, Darragh has slotted in next to Mark the Beast, Paul the Cinnamon, Sean the Dark Destroyer, Jenny the Vixen, and Anne the Governess, to create a formidable team. Long may we see him on our screens. He is just a joy to watch. Oxford is more than just the oldest, or second oldest, university in the world. More than Harry Potter films, and more than a boat race against Cambridge. It was in or around the beginning of the 10th century that the name Oxford was adopted. Ford, meaning crossing, so crossing for the oxen. Of course, like any place which has a university as its central location, you're bound to have some crazy things attached to it. While Maynooth may have had the walk of bad luck down the old campus, or the cold room of death in the geography building, or even the amazing monstrous wagon wheel pizza on sale in Mazzoni's, Oxford has some of its own too. Their Museum of History has the best remains of the dodo bird in the world, a Blackwell bookstore with the largest room for book sales in the world with 5 kilometres of shelving, and produced several British Prime Ministers, legendary authors, and people of all traits and talents. I cannot comment on the immense pizza in Oxford. The history of the city is long and eventful, going from the invasion and wars with the Danes and the Normans in the 10th century, the influence of the D'Oyly family, the foundations of Cambridge University through disgruntled Oxford students, right up to surviving modern-day wars like the German Blitz because they felt Oxford was of little value, and the great work to keep the history of brewing in the region alive. For those who may be fans of the screen, Oxford has been the setting for so many amazing films and programmes over the decades, from Harry Potter to Alice in Wonderland to the amazing Scarlet Pimpernel. And for those who are fans, music superstars like Supergrass, Foals, and one of my favourite acts ever, Radiohead, all have huge links to the region. John Aldridge and Ray Houghton, 2 stars of Irish soccer in the past, have also lined out for Oxford United in their history also. Some other famous names from the city and region are actors Hugh Laurie, Miriam Margoyle, Florence Pugh, sports stars Martin Keown and Tim Henman, and Sophie, the Countess of Wessex. But given that Darragh is a man of science and runs his own amazing podcast called Untangling Science, I have to mention one other man.
You should all do what I say. My IQ is 199 for crying out loud. 198, 197.
Big deal. My IQ is 280.
Stephen Hawking! The world's smartest man!
What are you doing here?
Although he may have worked and studied at rival Cambridge, Stephen William Hawking was born in Oxford. By age 17, he had already achieved a first-class honours degree in physics. At 17, I had achieved a B in past physics. 7 years later he had a PhD in applied maths and theoretical physics. In the middle of this, Hawking was diagnosed with motor neuron disease. There's absolutely no point in listing the achievements of the man here, it would take too long. But when he died in March 2018, aged 76, the world mourned the loss of a mind the likes of which generations perhaps had never seen. They had also witnessed a man live for more than half a century with a disease which often takes people in less than a decade. The film, Theory of Everything, taken from the phrasing of his temperature of a black hole formula, is a good portrayal of the great man's life and impact on humanity. As for Éire Óg Oxford GAA, well, they were founded in 1959. Early founders in the club, among the Irish who had travelled, were the likes of Andy Elliott, Mick Mullah, Jim Kelly, Donal Moore and Joe Moore. And here is Moynalvey County Meathman Desi Farrell talking about Andy Elliott and his influence on the club.
When I came over first, the man who was instrumental in getting me involved with Éire Óg was Andy Elliott. He was in the same place as myself in Ireland. And I knew him before I came over. He used to be with my club at Moynalvey. And he was a great man. He got Éire Óg registered with the Hertfordshire County Board, affiliated with the County Board. So they were legal and legitimate and they could play in the championship and the leagues in Hertfordshire. But he did an enormous amount of work, walked and tried to get men out for football and hurling. Well, football that time, there was no hurling team at the time. This is the football time mostly. And he was instrumental in getting them out and walk. He used to have to walk around the town and he was a great man. He did so much work.
Without much surprise, the original colours of Éire Óg Oxford would be the green and gold of Meath, and the home of Andy Elliott, the chairman. The early teams in the 60s consisted of Irishmen from counties all over Ireland with some very recognisable surnames, from the Pollards of Wicklow, Finnertys of Galway, Mahonys of Cork, Rileys of Cavan, Murphys of Laois, to name a few. Although originally out of the Gloucestershire board, the club soon moved to the Hertfordshire standings. The club went from strength to strength in football and hurling, winning league and cup titles, and that has been the way the club has continued going. For those interested in finding out more, go to the Éire Óg Oxford Club website and find the 60th anniversary booklet. It's over 100 pages of historical GAA gold. Today the club boasts football for men, women and youths, with hurling taking the back seat in modern times. Their most recent title was the 2021 Hertfordshire League final, adding to their list of success. Good on them. There aren't too many people in history who make their TV debut to a record-breaking audience of more than 5 million people on a quiz show, but this man is one of them. So let's meet Darragh the Menace Ennis and find out all about GAA in Montreal, in Oxford, the Chase and everything else in between.
Hi Jason, how's it going?
Hey Darragh, how are you? How are things?
Not too bad, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, yeah. You can hear me all right, can you?
Yeah, grand.
Yeah, good stuff, yeah. Thanks so much for coming on, I really appreciate it. It's a bit of an honour in many ways to have you on. Been such a quiz lunatic myself. I'm amazed to have yourself on. How do you know Dermot?
I know him as long as I can remember. We went to play school together. He used to beat me up in play school. My mum and his mum went back to school to do their leaving cert together, and like he grew up just up the road. And yeah, I know him for 40 years basically.
That's amazing. Are you currently in Oxford or at home, or where are you in Oxford?
No, I'm in Oxford. I went back to Ireland for a couple of weeks before school started in August, but yeah, no, I'm here the whole time now.
Yeah, I thought you were, because that I recognised the background from when you were on Philip and Holly.
Yeah, this is my conservatory. The reason why I'm out here is because at the moment, like I live in Oxford, which is really expensive, so I live in a really small house. And this is the only way I can be quiet and I can not wake up the kids and stuff. So I'm out here all the time.
Yeah, perfect. Oxford is lovely. Yeah, my uncle used to live there when he studied there. He's a professor of research and nursing now. I don't think he's not in Oxford anymore. He's somewhere in Scotland. I don't know where, but yeah, it's lovely. It's such a lovely place. I used to love going there. Although it is the place that brought me my fear of flying, because I lost my hearing going on the Ryanair flight over, and then driving to Oxford. I spent the whole weekend deaf as a 6-year-old, and it freaked me out forever. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, that's a whole other story. What part of Dublin are you actually from? I meant to ask as well.
Rockco.
Oh yeah. I teach in Chapel, is it? So.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's grand. Yeah, it's a nice spot out there. I used to live in Clonsilla as well for a good few years. So, what brought you to Oxford GAA then in the first place? I should ask.
Well, I came here because my wife got a job here, and I had been involved with GAA when I lived in Montreal, and it was a good way to make friends. And at my age, it is tricky. So, you know, I had friends from work and stuff. I was trying to find people that I'd have something in common with, and I joined the GAA club because, you know, it's a good way to meet people, mostly, to be honest.
Yeah. And what was the experience like in Montreal? I've only been to West Vancouver, Canada. I've never really been to that side. What's the GAA like there for you?
It was good in Montreal at the time. It was fairly small, so there wasn't that many people, and the games that we played against Quebec City, who had quite a reasonable club, but it wasn't like the Toronto thing where they had a league with like 6 teams. There was only one team, so you know it was invitationals, and we travel a long distance to go play in tournaments and stuff. But other than that, it was sort of very small, 6-7 aside kind of games, and we played indoor for half the year. Because we played in like a big inflatable dome that one of the universities had, and played, so you couldn't kick the ball too high or anything. It was good.
And did you, because Dermot would have me believe that you never picked up a GAA ball or a hurler or slitter in your life at any point?
I am, like, frankly, terrible at sport. I am really, really bad. I have very bad coordination. I'm not very fast, any of that kind of stuff. I'm no good at it. So anywhere at home that played, it was too serious at home. Yeah. You know, so I was never good enough, and because I wasn't any good, it just wasn't an option, you know. Whereas once I went away, the standard was lower and expectations were lower. It was more about having a laugh. So that's when I got into it, because when we were in school and stuff, if you weren't good, you got balled at by coaches and stuff. I wasn't into that at all. And hurling, I've never taken up. I don't have the skill, and you need a base level of skill. You have to be able to pick the ball up, and you have to be able to sort of strike it and pass it and stuff. And I can't do that basic stuff, so it's
that's fair enough. Yeah.
No good.
Yeah. I wasn't exactly setting the world alight either when I was playing, so we're probably on the same ground in some ways. With Montreal, then were you playing as such, or were you kind of more involved like you were?
I was playing there, so that was you know, we'd have these tournaments, and because during the wintertime it's freezing, but during the summertime it's unbelievably hot. So we'd have rolling subs, so that suited me down to the ground, because I wasn't exactly the biggest either. So, you know, you come on, you play sort of 5 minutes, 6 minutes, you'd roll off and get a few minutes off and that kind of thing. So, but it was much more for a laugh. It was more, the lads were all we weren't aiming to win anything, because once we went up against, say, the Toronto teams, they had like inter-county players and that kind of stuff who came over for the summer, and they'd batter us, you know. They'd be way, way better. And we just did it for a laugh. So it was much more fun. So I was playing pretty much the whole time there. I didn't really get involved in running the club all that much. But by the time I came here, the standard here is a lot better for starters. So I only played like a handful of games here. I was in the squad, and I trained for a year and a half or so. But I played a very, very small number of games, and then I got in sort of like committee and stuff, you know.
Yeah, Dermot would have. Dermot mentioned improver of the year. Is that a lie?
Oh, that was in Montreal. They had like player of the year and most improved player. So I went from being completely awful to just being awful, and I picked up one of these awards. It was a laugh.
You're really downplaying it, though. I think it's something you should be more proud of.
No, it was an improve. I definitely got better, but it was because I'd never really played before. So I did improve, but I never made it to any real standard at all. I was always a very mediocre player.
Yeah, that's no, I wasn't sure when he said it. He was like, Darragh's never played GA before, but he won improver of the year. I was like, is he winding me up and just wants me to try and catch myself out? Or so it's true. That's good to know.
I was always hopeless.
Okay. That's fair enough. What's life been like at Éire, Oxford then?
It's been pretty good. So like I said, when I first got here, I trained and played quite a bit, but since then, you know, I've become the busiest man in the universe, and I just don't have time anymore. I'm also getting old. Like I'm in my 40s now, and I find it really hard. I was never the fittest. I was never, I'm never into exercise. I'm not the kind of person who goes for a run. I like playing games. Yeah. So I found it really, really hard, and I just ended up slipping into the committee side of things and the organization side of things. But then a couple of years ago, my life turned upside down, and I just don't have time. I'm nominally on the committee and I'm on the WhatsApp group, and I sort of chip in that way, and I go to a couple of meetings a year and stuff, but I just don't have time. It's just not something I can do, like on Saturday mornings, I'm busy with my family, and I've got, I travel to London and I've got 2 jobs, and they're asking, can someone come and put nets up? And it's never me anymore. I just don't have the time.
Yes, I'll put up the nets. I'll just bring some of the ITV crew with me. You'll let me put them up.
Yeah. So it's like my life hasn't changed that much, and like everyone thinks I've got this glamorous lifestyle. Mostly, I just have no spare time anymore.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. What were in the early days? Then did you were you maybe more kind of on the ground with them than you are now? Before,
I would have been. So we have we regularly have a youth day. So the youth scene here isn't like it is in Ireland. It's we have mixed ages, and it's big age groups together, and that thing. But they're building it. It had stopped for a while, but they're picking it up again, and there's some good things. But we had blitzes with loads of clubs come from all over sort of this part of England. And I would chip in on that day, man the barbecue, or run the line, or help set up the equipment and all that kind of stuff. So I did that for the first few years I was here, and that kind of thing I get involved in. I used to go along, I umpire, all that kind of stuff. The things that nobody really wants to do, but somebody has to do, that kind of thing. And our secretary at the time was one of the other guys on the quiz team, and he'd always cajole me into helping and all that kind of stuff. But I was a good bit more involved. And then when Croke Park switched to a new way of registering players, and had the online system, I did that. I set up every member on that system, and I was the registrar. And I think nominally I still am. But right now, basically they just add new members to it. So when I did it, there was nobody. So I added whatever the 400 people who were registered with the club in different ways, and got that all set up. And I helped because the ladies system is different. I helped the ladies set up theirs, and I did all of that kind of stuff. But now I'm a token member, I'm afraid.
That's all right. Yes, my geography of England is not the best, but are you guys part of the Hertfordshire League?
So Oxfordshire, Hertfordshire, I think Gloucestershire as well. So it's kind of spread across this bit of Southeast England that isn't involved in the London League, basically, and is in the Midlands. So it's the bit in between. It's quite a big geographic area. That's the thing. So there's a lot of travel.
So I believe, I've had a couple of the clubs on it. St Columkills from St Albans. I've had a few others on, and they've all the county setup in England is not the same as Ireland. Cardiff are in one of the Midlands of England's leagues, like that kind of thing.
They're in with Birmingham teams. And it's just a necessity, because there's a critical mass of people needed. Whatever about football, hurling really struggles. You get these really big counties for hurling. So we're put in with, I think, one of the Birmingham sort of Midlands counties for hurling as well. It's a much more challenging environment. You can't just, especially say for youth, you can't you need to travel for an hour or 2 hours to go to some away games. And they might complain, but then I played football in Canada, and that's a different gig. You go away for the weekend to play a game because it's so far away.
It's not exactly like driving from Mullingar to Dublin. Me every morning commuting. It's a different kettle of fish. If Oxford came shouting and we're stuck, would you don the jersey on the pitch?
Oh, I would, but I'd be hopeless. They really, really want to be desperate. I haven't put a pair of football boots on in probably 3 years.
Okay.
It's been that long, and I haven't played a game for Éire Óg. I think the last time I played was in a friendly about 4 years ago, and I played 15 minutes at the end. And that's the last time I would have played. So I would have been the very edge of the fringe when I was training all the time. Right now, I would just be a body on the field, basically.
Okay.
They'd want to be properly desperate.
That's fair enough. And what is the future like? Or what's things been like with fundraising and stuff for the club? Because a lot of clubs tend to run into a lot of difficulties with fundraising. And
well, we're not too bad because we didn't put ourselves in a position where, say, we'd run into debt building up facilities or anything. So we play on rented pitches and stuff because we don't have our own. But the club, as far as I know, it's not like he hasn't got tons of money, but I don't think it's in any. I think that's probably better than quite a lot of clubs are at the minute. Because I know from friends of mine at home that say the club would have invested in a clubhouse with a bar and facilities, and they would have been banking on things like parties and stuff to pay the debt on it. We don't have that situation. I know there's sort of like a long-term plan for the club to try and build up a store of money to get our home ground, to get a piece of ground and get a clubhouse of our own, because it's difficult when you're renting, because you're never sure you're going to be there the next year, and you don't get to store gear there, and you can't do things like have events to raise money. You have to do them in pubs and stuff, which is great. We've got some really good supporters, but it'd be nice to have our own place. So I think the long-term plan is for that, but I think that's a good bit down the road.
Yeah. How many times have you had the joke, "Oh, can you organise a quiz night?" You must have that many times.
No, it's not been done yet. So we talked about this. I've offered to do it because it would be a good draw, and they might as well get some value out of me, because they certainly never did on the pitch. So no, we've talked about this. I think as soon as we're comfortable with everybody getting together, we might do it towards the end of this year, where we'll try and host a quiz. So we've done quizzes before, and I've played in them rather than hosting them. So this time I'd host them and maybe advertise and hope we could get people outside the club to join, just so they could answer some of my questions. So it'd be stupid it would be stupid not to do it, and it would be very easy for me to do, because when the whole Zoom quiz craze took off, I wrote loads of quizzes for people, friends and stuff. So I've got tons of them in the bank that I can just wheel out. So it'd be fun.
Yeah, I was the same every Thursday night. It was myquiz.org. Every Chapel Lizard person was playing along every Thursday night. It's a great way to raise the morale, if nothing else. I wasn't playing for any money, thankfully. So
no, we wouldn't do that. So like I've got like loads. Like I did a quiz. I just finished one just before I came on to talk to you for one of the Ireland teams.
Okay.
And I've got definitely one on Wednesday. I think I've got one on Thursday that has to be scheduled yet. I've got another coming up. The week after that, we start back in the pubs, actually, because we haven't done for 2 years. So
of course,
Oxford is coming back, all that kind of stuff. So
I
not only do I work as my job, I do it as my hobby as well. So I never stop doing it.
Yeah, it is a full-time job in itself, as I've learned, I think, from teaching. Our school we're one of the smallest ever credit union quiz champions. You've probably, I'm sure, had some experience of that back in Rathcoole. So
yeah, I didn't. I was relatively new to quizzing when I started here. I get this quite a bit. People say, "Oh, you must have played a lot when you're in Ireland or in Canada or that." I really started competitive quizzing on a regular basis with Éire in Oxford. Like that.
Wow. Okay.
That was the first time I did it, and I got asked along because someone else dropped out of the team, and I live nearby, and your man John Conway, who's sort of the captain of the quiz team, who's in Éire for donkey's years. He's been in the club for 40 years or something, 50 years, and he asked me to come along. I think it might be because I live close to the pub that was in the corner from my house at the time, and I just stuck at it from there. But that was 6 or 7 years ago. And that was the first time I started. So everybody assumes I've been into this. And that was the only competitive quizzing I did. I didn't do any of the national championships or anything. I was just on this Oxfordshire quiz team.
Okay.
I only got started into all of these other competitions I do in the last 2 years.
Wow, okay. I suppose, speaking of the social and the quiz side, what is a good night out like with Oxford, Éire?
Oh, well, it's a good night out with everyone. Like because it's a relatively small club. Everybody knows everyone, and quite a lot of the people who are involved with the club are like lifetime people involved with the club, So it's but aside, that happens a lot in Ireland where you get small clubs, but then the small club is the entire town, whereas here it's not. So you've got this tight knit group of people in a relatively big town, a small city, with like loads of places to go out and loads of stuff like that. So we do have fun. I tend not to get involved because I'm old. The players tend to have a laugh, and we've a couple of pubs like the Black Swan, which is where the players all sort of go if we after a game and things, and that's kind of like our home base. And
okay,
it's a good laugh. They're a great bunch of lads, and they're really good fun. So
you used the Father Ted quote perfectly. They're a great bunch of lads. Exactly.
They are great, but they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they are. Who would you consider as Oxford's main rivals generally?
Well, there's teams in Watford and St Albans are the teams that we come up against most often. So Glen Rovers and those guys. So because it's such a small league, you're really looking at like 6 or 7 teams most of the time. So it's a small group of teams that play against each other all the time. So they're kind of all rivals.
Okay.
That's the thing. No, it's not like, you look down the fixture list and you go, oh, this is the one we're really looking forward to. So, because it's teams we play against all the time. That's the thing. It's a small county in terms of clubs. So yeah, it's hard to pick out one. And they tend to go up and down quite a bit because a lot of the players don't stay around forever. A lot of them are students who are over here studying or guys who are working for whatever number of years. So there's a lot of turnover in some of the teams. So, the quality of the team can go up and down very, very quickly.
Like everybody, yeah. Is there a standout moment, a proudest moment or best moment with the Éire guys, or even with Montreal?
Well, so I with Éire, because honestly, now there's no false modesty in this. I'm not up to the standard here, so I didn't play very much. But one of the first seasons I was here, the club hadn't won anything for quite a while. There'd been a bit of a bad patch in terms of trophies, and they won. We won the championship and the league in consecutive seasons, and
wow, okay,
that was great. That was really good. There was a good, and our manager, our manager ended up getting picked up to be the county manager, because we were doing really, really well. So it was a big success, and that was great. With Montreal, we never actually won anything because every time we played against the really, really good teams, but it was mostly I just had a great time, because the fixtures, the away fixtures were so far away and teams had to travel so far to play against us that whenever we did have a game day, we'd play like 5 or 6 games quite often. And then we'd have a huge big party and everybody would be there for the weekend. So it was a real festival kind of atmosphere. So it was great. And one time we traveled down to upstate New York, which on a map looks like a small amount of distance, but it was a really long drive. And we played against loads of teams from sort of all over the northeast of the United States and Canada and stuff. And that was brilliant. That was probably my favorite time. We just had such a laugh, staying in really cheap motels and everybody just, going crazy. It was really
true American experience. Yeah, that sounds amazing. Yeah. I'm going to kind of swap this around slightly. I'm going to do like the GAA kind of quick fire questions with you. And then I might have a chat with you about a couple of other things. The GAA, the quick fire ones, I've discovered from chatting to a lot of teams, they're not as quick fire. People are like, just give me a second. Now you can pass on any of them. It doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. But is there a club karaoke song either at Oxford or Montreal?
No, but when I was in Montreal, we had, because this was a long time ago, so it was a 30th birthday rather than a 40th birthday. My mate from it originally played for Skerry's Harps, but he was in Montreal at the time, Kieran Keane. He had his 30th birthday in a karaoke bar, and we all sang Gay Bar by Electric Six.
What a tune.
For our lungs, and then ended up singing it, walking down the streets in Montreal. Getting lots of people giving us strange looks. But that would probably be the standout one, I think.
Brilliant, yeah. One of the iconic guitarists of all time as well. Are you more of a Marty Morrissey or a Des Cal fan?
Oh, Marty. I like Marty.
Yeah, good, yeah. What else have I got? If you could bring Éire Oxford to Ireland to take on one club or county, who would you most like a shot against?
Oh, I wouldn't take them on to play a county anyway. That would be an absolute butchery. I'd like to take them home. I'd like to take them to St Mary's in Saggart, and because we'd have a laugh. Yeah. It used to be called the Creamery, the home ground in St Mary's, because they were so rough, such a dirty.
Wow,
team.
okay, didn't know that.
I think it's changed now. Yeah. They had a reputation in the sort of 80s and 90s for being a very tough team, but I think it's a bit different now. But yeah, I'd take them home. I think that'd be a laugh.
Take them home, nice. You have a choice of the GAA icons of hats, flags, scarves, or headbands. Which one?
Oh, scarves. I love a scarf. I've got a good few Dublin scarves, and so I'd go for scarves, definitely. Okay, good choice. I got a brilliant answer to this from the guys in Augusta GAA this morning. I wasn't expecting any answer from a lot of the Americans, but favorite Father Ted episode? Favorite Father Ted episode?
Yeah,
it has to be the speed one, the Pat Mustard.
Brilliant.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love
it. Brilliant. Yeah, I got stunned this morning when the two guys from Augusta in Georgia were telling me, quoting, and the quote I got from was, "Father Jack is my inspiration," which I think I'll keep that forever. That was their favorite quote from it.
Oh, with the cardboard box moving thing.
Yeah.
In the Pat Mustard episode, it's one of the best pieces of comedy I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, different class. And the best GAA player ever in your lifetime?
In my lifetime?
Yeah. Considering you've written yourself off as being so old, you've obviously got such a huge choice.
Yeah, well, I'm in my 40s, but like the thing is, because I'm from Dublin, it has to be one of the relatively recent players.
Yeah.
God, that's a hard question because there's so many good ones. I'm going to go for a scorer, Bernard Brogan.
Brilliant. Bernard, yeah, love it. Now, these are slightly non-GA ones, but you've got a choice between Blackboard Jungle with Ray Darcy or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Gay Byrne.
Oh, I'm going to say Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because the first ever contestant on it was my maths teacher.
Stop.
Yeah, Des O'Connor, the man himself from Rathcoole Community School, was the first person on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
That is amazing. Like I've literally relied on your Twitter to like do my fact of the day thing to bring into the kids every day. And today's one was not actually off your Twitter. It was something I randomly learned about. Poor John Chalice passed away today, Boise from Only Fools and Horses, and I didn't realize he had a Serbian citizenship. That's my fact of the day, which I learned earlier. Yeah, so if that ever comes up on the chase, you owe me money. You've got a choice between you can choose on a quiz team if you could pick to have the Beast, the Cinnamon, or the Dark Destroyer. Which one would be best for
Cinnamon? Absolutely no.
Really,
doubt, Paul? Yeah, 100%. So Paul was the British quiz champion. He is frankly amazing, but mainly the main thing is of the other two, you pick two people whose interests really overlap with mine. So we have very similar strengths, whereas Paul is great at stuff I'm really bad at. So definitely Paul.
Okay, so that's a good one. And the Governess or the Vixen then?
Oh, Vixen. Because the worst thing I'm at is popular culture. So I'm terrible at so
she's lethal at it.
All that kind of stuff. And she is brilliant at it. So definitely her.
Okay. I didn't recognize her the other night at the awards. She's completely revamped
herself. You're not the only one. One of our producers didn't recognize her. A woman who's worked with her 8 years didn't know who she was.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't know that. And you're a former Maynooth College man, the same at Maynooth University. So Brady's or the Roost?
Oh, the Roost, always. Old Man Bar, Corner Bar and the Roost. Definitely.
Love it. Okay, brilliant. I've got a couple of GA ones. Do you want me throwing them at you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. These are just my own ones, and then I've got a couple of other ones. The GA was founded in which hotel?
Oh, that's a great question.
I had to write it in my history book that I wrote for the kids. So
it was 1886 in Thurles, wasn't it?
84 in Thurles, yeah.
84 in Thurles.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what the name of the hotel was, though. I'm going to say the Grand Hotel.
Hayes' Hotel. You were right with Thurles, though. I definitely give you the point for knowing Thurles. That's a good start. This one, there's two other ones. A tricky one, even though I know you're in Oxford. This is one I only learned recently. The British GA Board was founded in what year?
Oh, that's a horrible question.
Yeah, that was a horrible. When I read it, I was like, "Geez, it's that old. It's very old."
It's really old. So it was fairly. Oh, I think this was this 19th century as well? Is it like 1895 or something?
No, it's early 20th.
No, yeah. So I knew it was old, but like I don't know, 1905,
1927. I didn't realize they're coming close to centenary. I couldn't believe it was actually that old. And the last one then, my podcast is called the Loaf of Bread GA podcast, but which famous former Kerry manager made the famous Loaf of Bread speech to the Westmeath team in 2004?
Oh, well, Miko, is it?
No, not Miko. No? Miko was the rival in the Leinster final. It was Paddy.
Oh, Paddy.
It was Paddy.
Shit.
Yeah.
How did I get them mixed up?
Paddy and Miko were on the sideline in the Leinster final. He was managing Laois, Miko was, and Paddy was Westmeath. Yeah.
There we go. That was a stupid thing to say, but anyway.
That's okay. And then there's a couple of these ones. So there's the quizzes I was saying that I ran that Thursday night and for parents and all that. There were two boys in my school, one that I'm teaching this year and his older brother's in fifth, Dan and Donna, who to the Chapelizza community are known as the Biscuit Bashers. That's their quiz name. They are quiz obsessed, but they're also obsessive Liverpool fans. Nice. And I know you're a big fan as well, which is tragic in so many ways. But anyway, they made 5 Liverpool questions from last season, and they were wondering could they ask them. So I got 4 of them right. I got one of these wrong, which I'm really annoyed at. But anyway, Liverpool lost 7-2 to Aston Villa last season, yet got the second biggest win of the season when they beat which club 7-0? Southampton, Palace, or Sheffield United?
Jeez, I can't remember. I'm going to say Sheffield United.
I actually have forgotten. I didn't write I didn't put the tick beside the answer. I thought it was Crystal Palace. I don't think it's Sheffield United. I'm pretty sure it's either Palace or Southampton.
I can't remember. I honestly can't remember that match. Not even a bit of it.
Yeah, I've forgotten the answer to that one. We skipped that one anyway. We give the point to the lads. Divock Origi got 3 goals out of how many shots on target in the entire Champions League in 2018-19? Was it 3 shots, 6 shots, or 9 shots?
That's a really hard question.
Yeah, I don't know where the lads come up with these. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff they like listen to and watching. So
I'm gonna go now. See, I know these aren't the Chase question writers, but I'm gonna go with 3 because that's the trick.
Yeah, 3, correct. Yeah, the trend. Yeah, exactly. 3 out of 3, correct. Yeah. Jordan Henderson signed from which club in 2011? QPR, Sunderland, or Portsmouth?
Sunderland.
Yep, correct. This is the one I got wrong. Sepp van den Berg, backup centre back, as I've learned, was sent out on loan to which championship club last season? QPR, Hull, or Preston?
It was Preston, wasn't it?
Preston, correct. Well done. And in 2019-2020, Liverpool's title-winning season, they lost to Man City, Watford, and which other club? Do you want the 3 options?
Yeah, go on.
Arsenal, Spurs, Man United.
Jeez, I can't remember that either. I'm going to say Spurs.
It's Arsenal.
It wasn't United. I think.
It wasn't United. Yeah, I would have got them to rewrite the question and put in Man United somewhere in that because I'm a big Man United fan. But yeah, and then I've got one last bonus question, and it's Liverpool Irish link. So, one Liverpool player in history has played in the Conference, Division 3, Division 2, Division 1, the Premiership, World Cup, Champions League final, UEFA Cup final, FA Cup final, League Cup final, Club World Cup final, Super Cup, and Intertoto Cup during his career. Who was it?
That's Steve Finnan, isn't it?
Correct. Well done. Yeah, it's the famous question. Yeah, I had to throw that one in.
Well, biscuit bashers, that are seriously hard questions. Well done.
They'll be delighted. That'll become their ringtone. Just saying that in the background from now on, I'd say. And yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. Particularly being a teacher, and tomorrow our school finally gets hands on 30 Chromebooks for the kids, so it's a big day. And I'm a big STEM fanatic, so. The Untangling Science podcast. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I figured out a long time ago that there's plenty of accessible science things for little kids, but for sort of teenagers and adults who are not into science but kind of want to learn about it without it being too technical, there's nothing there. It's a dead space. And what really came home from a lot of sort of misinformation that's being piled out around about viruses and vaccines and things is that a lot of people don't understand basic science. They don't get it because, they were either scared of it in school, or they mightn't have had a great teacher, or, they didn't study it after junior cert, or for whatever reason. So I wanted to put out big topics, but without using any big words, basically. Nice, it's about coming up with big scientific concepts like what is DNA and what does it do? What's photosynthesis? How does the sun work? And without using any technical terms, or as few technical terms as possible, I sort of bring it in and I do sort of 25, 30-minute chunks on each of those, try and make it really easy and accessible to explain it in terms that normal people can understand. Because I work with scientists and we love a technical term and we love science, but that means it makes it very hard for people to access it. So it's really accessible science, basically.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the long-term plan for it? As in, is it any plans to kind of take it as a live show down the line when COVID kind of goes away?
So right now I have hardly any people listening to it. So no, there's no plans. Okay. I'm doing it mostly for myself because I think it's something that I'd love to do. What I want to do is grow it and have more people listening. So, I think ideally I'd like to have thousands of people listening to it. That's what I'd like. I haven't done it to make money. That's not really been my motivation. I want to do this because it's something I think that anybody who, like me, is a scientist and gets a bit of sort of exposure should do. We should try and spread the message and try and get people into it, because science is how the world works. It's not just some theoretical subject. Everything is scientific in some way. So yeah, longer term, I'd like to get it into either onto one of the big streaming platforms, so I can get more listeners, or I don't know, maybe do a YouTube show about it. I'm not too sure. So I'm going to do 10 episodes and try and build the listenership. And if I can build the listenership, I'll keep it going. And if I can't, then I'll probably just knock it on the head. So we'll see. If I can get good numbers within a year of doing the 10th episode, then I'll do more series.
Brilliant. Yeah. No, it sounds like a runner, definitely. When I kind of hear the concept of it, it sounds perfect. Like I spent last Friday afternoon trying to teach the, what would you call it, the science behind tsunamis to fourth class. And it's probably the worst thing I could have done on a Friday evening, because even without too many technical terms, you have to kind of bring it back to a lower level again. So yeah, I kind of like that idea. It hopefully should take off for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to think it would. And you know, I like, in an ideal world, I would like to make it into a TV show, because one of the things about science is it's a lot easier to explain it with diagrams and with videos and with animation and things like that. Doing it in an audio format is actually quite difficult.
Yeah.
So ideally, like the perfect thing would be, you know, I get a big lump of money from one of the production companies and make it into a TV show, but that's wildly ambitious. So I'm going to aim for, you know, if I can get a couple of thousand people downloading each episode, that would probably make it worth my while.
Yep, perfect. Well, if anyone out there is listening who has a big wad of money, it's definitely a good runner. And if anyone also has a spare wad of money, I would like to travel around the world to meet all these clubs as well, just if anyone else is listening. The last couple of bits I'll ask you, I know I won't ask you piles about the chase, I'm sure you're blue in the face from it, but when you went on as a contestant back in the day, could you have envisaged the sort of what would you call it, after show that came from with the GoFundMe and the hysterics around it?
No. Like when I mentioned it to my wife what had happened, she said, "Oh, that's going to blow up big on Twitter." And at that point, I hadn't really got into social media too much. I didn't really understand how it worked very well. So I was like, surely not, you know, because it's only like that, the back door that I bought. That was why I went on it. But it was the day they were debating Article 50, so the day they were debating the Brexit bill in the UK Parliament when it aired, and it was the number one trending thing in the UK for about a day. It was frankly insane. It was the maddest thing ever. Newspapers calling me up. Yeah, they did a GoFundMe to try and get me the money back, which I never earned. This is the thing. It's the way the show works is it's theoretical.
It's hypothetical money,
yeah. And, you know, I was bemused. And the weirdest thing was, at that point, I had already started the audition process for becoming a chaser. And I wasn't allowed to say that, obviously. So they're like, "Oh, you know, they should do something." I was desperately not buttoning my lips so that I wouldn't say anything. But yeah, so the audition process for the job was really long. And I couldn't have predicted it. When it all happened, I thought people might, you know, there might be a few people complaining or whatever, because there's always somebody complaining, but I didn't think it'd blow up like it did.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. It was Dermot as well that got me to look back on the first episode, because I do remember watching, like I would sort of religiously watch it, but I completely missed the fact where when Bradley asked you, "What do you do in your spare time?" that you said you were the registrar of Éire Oxford. Like if I'd spotted that quicker, I probably would have had you on a lot sooner. But it was only when Dermot pointed it out to me, I was like, that completely went over my head. But what the process, I know I read a bit about you talking about, and I know I've heard the other chasers saying about having to learn long lists off by heart, that kind of thing in your spare time. Is that essentially what it is?
Yeah, well, it's you have to do a lot of quizzes, read a lot of quiz books, try and just a large part of the job is to have the percentage answer. So I said this already, you know, you pick the one that's most likely to be correct.
Yes.
You know, so in that trick question from the two lads where it's like the Darragh question, there's a reason why it's there, and you start to figure it out. Like question writers do that, and you have to try and figure out what the percentage answers are, and you basically have a list in your head of those, and that helps a lot. But then other things you just have to learn, like, you know, you learn the periodic table, you learn, like, I know all of the reigns of the kings and queens of England since 1066, like off the top of my head. And
but you won't find in any history book in Ireland.
No, and I knew, exactly, and I know who they were married to, and I know the major things of their reigns and what house they were in, because it comes up all of the time. all of the time. The periodic table comes up all the time. The quiz I was in today for one of the Irish national teams had 2 questions on the periodic table. You know, it comes up a lot.
Yeah.
So there are some things that you can have that you will get just straight away, and that is half the battle, to be honest.
Okay. Do the producers throw in those questions that cause Bradley Walsh to laugh uncontrollably? They must be deliberate.
The question writers and the producers definitely love a sneaky question, especially in the celeb shows, because they usually air a little later.
Yeah.
And my ambition always is to make Brad break down laughing. I managed to do it once already, and I really want to do it again because it's great. You know, and you see it when Basil Brush is on or something, and they're like 2 giant children. And the best part of it is that's only what goes out to air. The amount of stuff that doesn't make it onto air, because it takes 2 or 3 times as long to film as it does to air. And just joking and stupid stuff. So those like little sneaky questions to try and make Brad laugh are 100% done on purpose. Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, because the one of the like German or Austrian downhill skier, I'll never forget. Yeah, that was deliberate, surely.
It was. Yeah. That was nearly a turning point in the show. That gave such a long-term boost to ratings. That reaction to that was a big thing, because it really caused a big like fuss, and people were talking about that, and people who'd never watched the show saw the clip and then started watching the show. So it actually gave a substantial lift to the numbers, just that one gag. So you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. Like, I've never seen a human being break down that much on TV. It was absolutely amazing. What about the new format of the show? Are you enjoying that one?
Oh, Beat the Chasers.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
What a great show that is. It's really, really, really fun to do. And one of the best bits about it is, from our point of view, so much easier. Because, like I said just a minute ago, you know, we have the percentage answers, and you're not really sure on the main show. You just have to throw it out there. But on Beat the Chasers, one of the others will know. Like, and you know, if it's on a subject, like if it's on 80s music, which I'm not particularly good at, just leave it to Paul. Paul will get it. He knows them all. So and you know, if it's like Star Wars, Jenny will get that. I love Star Wars, but if it's a Star Wars question, I don't even go near the buzzer if Jenny's on the team. I'll just let her do it. If it's some weird, obscure literature thing, I'd be able to have a guess, but I don't know. Just let Anne do it. So from our point of view, it's a lot nicer. And it's a lot more fun because we're up there. We're not just sitting there on our own. I was sitting beside Paul this series. That man is so funny.
You get the impression he is,
Well, he's a professional, you know, that's the thing. So he is a comedian, but he's just so clever, and he's really, really good at like very sharp, quick, witty things that are very clever. And sometimes it takes you 2 or 3 seconds to figure it out, and then you start laughing. And that's really bad for TV, because he says that and is sitting there with a perfectly straight face, and I'm suddenly like
dying in the corner,
and we have to get it together.
The last one, I suppose, a few of the lads asked me to ask you this. Is it a genuine kind of upset when, like, say last night when I was watching it, that contestant V, was there, that she won 20 grand or whatever? Like, when you actually lose, is it affect that, like, you know, really wanted to beat them, or is it like, you know, okay, we're delighted for them?
It depends. We don't mind getting beaten by a good contestant. What really rankles is if we say a couple of stupid things that we should have got, because we're always kicking ourselves if we say something wrong, or if we do the opposite of the strategy. If I jumped in on someone else's speciality and get it wrong, you're sort of really annoyed at yourself. It's same in football or in hurling. You know, you don't mind so much if you do your very best, you're playing a great game, and you get edged out by a better team. It stings, but you know, you don't mind it so much. It's if you're being sloppy and someone who you should have beaten beats you, that really hurts. So, you know, we're all very competitive. We don't like to lose, but getting beaten by a contestant, we've no complaints.
Fair enough, yeah. You haven't taught the rest of them a good GAA shoulder backstage, you know, for getting it wrong or anything, no?
Can you imagine giving Mark Lebet a shoulder? That man is a monster. He used to play American football.
Oh, did he? All right, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And he is bigger than you think. I know he looks big, but he is an absolute giant. He's 2 meters tall, and he must be like 110, 120 kilos. He's huge.
He looked, I know when he comes out, like, to sit on the seat, you're just kind of looking up going, Jesus Christ, like, he looks pretty tall. But obviously, if you're saying he's massive, he obviously is that big.
Well, for context, I'm 6'3", so if you ever see him standing beside me, he is like head and shoulders above me.
Okay, that's all. I won't mess with him. He's called the Beast for a reason, so.
Yeah, well, he's called the Beast because Le Bête means the beast in French.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know. I don't know where I heard that somewhere. Yeah, you just think he's this massive man. Yeah. The last one that you got, is it true you were told your nickname was to be the Menace when you were walking out to air the first episode? Is that true?
Yeah, no, not even when I was walking out. So where we are backstage, there's a set of steps to go up to that platform that we walk on. I was standing on those steps, listening to Brad do that. Who will you be facing today? And when I walked across the bridge and he was saying the Menace, that was the first time I heard it.
Oh, the producers did a great job with that one.
Oh yeah, the producers are great. They really are. And I said a really foolish thing. I said, because we do a fancy dress thing at Christmas, and they asked, what would you be willing to wear? And I said, I'd literally wear anything. If you put a chicken suit or whatever. And I thought that would just disappear. But this year, Jenny said she'd like dress up as something ridiculous for the Christmas one, and they did it. They took her to her word. So it might be next year if it's a farm animals one or Old MacDonald, I might be coming across in a chicken suit.
Okay, so we heard it here first. Darragh the Menace, Ennis in a chicken suit, definitely. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, so bright future for Éire Oxford then, which you was nominated registrar then.
Yeah, well, it's nothing to do with me, but yeah, it's been a very good period for the club. There's been a few trophies, and there was a very barren patch there for a while. So
yeah,
good crop of players, some good coaches, and we've been doing pretty well. Yeah.
Super, yeah. Any words for Dermot before I let you go?
Oh, him? God, no. I don't want to encourage him. He's an awful man.
Yeah, so I've gathered from the WhatsApps, yeah. No, that's brilliant. Darragh, look, I unbelievably appreciative of you giving up your time. I do feel kind of, I don't know, grand to myself in that it's the same background that Philip and Holly got to use on this morning that I'm recognising on this one. So I feel like the TV show's coming my way.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold too much to it. It's the only room in the house I can go where it's quiet.
That's brilliant, yeah. No, look, I really appreciate you coming on and telling us all about the chase and Éire and Montreal and everything else. It's been amazing chatting to you.
No worries, Jason. It was lovely talking to you too.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, before you go, have you any advice for a primary school on how to train them for credit union quizzes? What's the best way to go about learning stuff?
Do quizzes. Practice is the best thing to do, because a lot of people, especially at that level, take out their questions from things like Trivial Pursuit boxes or old quiz books.
Okay.
If you have a Trivial Pursuit in your house, look through all the questions. If you've got a quiz book knocking around, read through it and just practice, because the same questions come up all the time.
Okay, sounds good. If Kevin McEntee is listening, he was the man who was training the team. Technically, he's on career break at the moment. If he's listening, there's your A1 answer now. So.
And, watch quiz shows on TV, because that's another great way to get questions.
Yeah, there's one called The Chase, apparently. It's pretty good, yeah. Yeah, I heard it's decent. I don't know much about it, yeah. Darragh, thanks a million. Really appreciate it. And I'll keep in touch. Yeah, thanks so much, Darragh. Really appreciate it. Brilliant talking to you.
Always, Jason.
Yeah, take it easy. Sloan, bye-bye.
Bye.
Good luck.
Coming up the next day on the Loaf of Bread GAA Global, we cut into our next slice.
What else we got? Is there anyone then you'd like to give a shout out to back home before I let you go?
Oh yeah, the list is long. Do you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to Joe Brawley. I'm going to say, Joe, we miss you. I miss you in there winding up Pat and the lads. And actually, you're wrong most of the time, but you get people thinking and get people talking, and I think he should be back on TV.
Next Thursday on Slice 34, I meet one of the legendary figures of European and Iberian GAA in Justin Parks of Costa Gales GAA in Marbella in Spain, and a man heavily involved with Gaelic Games Europe. We chat everything from Justin's early life in Northern Ireland and the normality of living in the Troubles as the son of an RUC officer, the work in running clubs around Spain and Europe, pipping Madrid and Barcelona to being the first registered GAA club in Spain, Iraqi man Aquiles getting involved with the club and having a dig at an All-Ireland final referee, fundraising and sponsorship ideas, the future of the GAA Europe and Irish clubs, GAA in the Spanish provinces, and much more, including Brian the Karaoke King, dealing with an ETA car bomb in Marbella, Derry Girl's father Ted, and his own #BringBackJoeBrawley campaign. That's next Thursday morning from 9 AM as I continue the journey with 2 slices a week. I'll see you at the arrivals hall, but until then,
Check out the various clubs on the Instagram page and see all the amazing work they do and some of the nicest GAA gear going. Find the podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter and on TikTok. Email loafofbreadpod@gmail.com or just simply hit the follow button and spread the word of the Loaf of Bread GAA pod across the globe. Slánigí.